Not much is known about the one-time head of the Bonanno crime family, Philip Rusty Rastelli. Questions like, who were his parents, and where were they born, never seem to be addressed. There is no doubt, however, that he was of Italian descent, and probably not Sicilian. This conclusion is based on the position he took in the now infamous feud within the Bonanno family, which developed years later between Rastelli and what has been characterized as the Sicilian faction. Rastelli was born January 31, 1918 in Queens, and was one of 6 children, having 3 brothers and 2 sisters. He quit school at the age of 15, giving himself over to a life of crime. J. Robert Nash writes, Rastelli had led a criminal life since the age of 7 when he was picked up for delinquency. In 1936 he was sent to a reformatory after a homicide charge was reduced to assault. In 1940 he was sentenced to 5 to 10 for assault and robbery. 10 years later he was convicted of the same charge and received the same sentence. Before joining the Bonanno crime family, headed up by Godfather Joseph Bonanno, Rastelli was heavily involved with loan sharking, extortion, and drug trafficking. During the 1950s and 60s, Rastelli rose through the ranks, becoming quite well known and gaining a reputation as a good earner. It was said that he cemented close ties with other family members, including Dominic Sonny Black Napolitano, Joseph Massino, and Carmine Galante. To show legal income on his tax returns, Rastelli listed his job as a radio dispatcher for a taxi company. American Mafia history notes, on December 3, 1953, Rastelli and an associate allegedly shot William Russo in Queens. However, Russo survived the shooting, and Rastelli, fearing identification, went into hiding. Over the next year, Rastelli's wife Connie allegedly approached Russo's wife many times with an offer of $5,000 if her husband did not identify Rastelli. The bribe was said to be refused each time. On December 13, 1954, Connie Rastelli was indicted on charges of attempting to bribe a witness. Around the same time, Russo was killed in Brooklyn. No one has ever been charged with his murder. Law enforcement sources indicated that his wife Connie was one of the few women who knew the inner workings of the mob and was involved with her husband's criminal activities on numerous levels, from driving the getaway car on important heists to keeping records on Rastelli's gambling operations, informing him it was time to collect or letting him know when someone was late. She even operated an illegal abortion mill for her husband. There wasn't anything Connie Rastelli wouldn't do for the man she idolized. But all was not perfect in their marriage. Carl Sifakis explains, Rastelli probably found mafia activities tame compared to his married life. Once, on the lam in Canada, he took up with a young woman. On finding out, Connie shot right up to Canada and proceeded to clobber her young rival senseless. She also informed Rastelli that if he fooled around anymore, she'd kill him. But in typical mob fashion, Rastelli continued his cheating ways, having dozens of affairs. Being true to her word, Connie tracked him down on a Brooklyn street and emptied a revolver in his direction, hitting him twice. For Rastelli, that was the final straw, and he never went back to her. Connie then made a fatal mistake. She told Rastelli if he didn't come home, she would go to federal authorities and tell them all about his criminal enterprises and inform on the family. American Mafia history continues. Connie Rastelli was believed to have been killed in 1962 after she became a federal informer, according to a New York Times obituary for Philip Rastelli. Mrs. Rastelli, who had been angered over her husband's suspected infidelities, began telling federal investigators about the family's criminal activities. Her body reportedly has never been found. Men like Joseph Valachi and Sammy Gravano used to love to tell their friends they hated rats, but Rastelli proved it. He spent many years in the big house and never gave up anything nor anyone. He proved his disdain for rats by ordering a hit on his first wife. And he proved it again when the family believed his uncle, Louis Rastelli, was singing to the feds. The higher-ups told him his uncle had to go, and Rastelli obliged. But the attempt on his uncle failed. Still, the old man was left paralyzed, and Rastelli never gave it a second thought. During the mid to late 1960s, trouble began brewing in the Bonanno family. Reports during this period of what actually happened are contradictory. But by 1969, Joe Bonanno retired, moving to Arizona, and the New York Commission appointed a three-man panel to run the family. Joseph D. Filippi, Natalie Joe Diamonds Evola, and Philip Rusty Rastelli. On July 21, 1971, Rastelli was indicted in Riverhead, New York on loan sharking charges. According to the indictment, the loan sharking ring was charging victims anywhere from 250 to 300% annual interest and reportedly generated over $1 million per year in revenue for the Bonannos. On December 28, 1972, Rastelli was convicted in state court on 7 counts of the indictment. Again citing American Mafia history. On August 28, 1973, Evola died, and Rastelli became acting boss of the Bonanno family. On February 23, 1974, at a meeting at the American Hotel, located in Manhattan, the commission named Rastelli as official boss, but the real power in the family soon migrated to rival and underboss Carmine Galante. To state that Galante was not popular with the other families, as well as a faction within the Bonanno family, would be an understatement. During those years, the Bonanno family expanded their drug affairs by starting the infamous Pizza Connection, a massive drug trafficking ring with origins in Sicily. Sicilian mobsters were brought into the U.S. over the years to help secure the relationship. The imported Sicilians, often referred to as Zips, had absolute dominance over the other American families in the highly profitable drug business, and the rest of the commission began to worry that Galante's power was becoming too great. In 1979, with commission blessing, Rastelli ordered the murder of Carmine Galante. Though still in prison, Rastelli would become the undisputed boss of the Bonannos, giving orders through acting boss Salvatore Sally Fruits Ferrugia. But by 1981, a faction headed up by Capo Regime Alphonse Sonny Rudd Indelicato began questioning Rastelli's ability to manage the family from behind bars, and an internal war began heating up. These events were witnessed by undercover FBI agent Joseph Donnie Brasco Pistone. Indelicato and 2 other capos were eventually removed from their positions, gunned down in a sensational and bloody hit by rivals Sonny Black Napolitano and future boss turned government informant Joseph Massino. A few years later, Rastelli was finally paroled, but he returned to a family in chaos without a seat on the commission. He tried his best to restore order, unity, and respect to the Bonannos, which had been greatly damaged and diminished, specifically as a result of the Donnie Brasco operation, which had decimated the family ranks. Citing again American Mafia history. In 1985, Rastelli was indicted, along with other Cosa Nostra leaders, in the famous Mafia Commission trial. The Bonanno family was spared from getting caught up in the Commission trial, which sentenced many Mafia bosses and members to prison. However, when Rastelli was indicted on separate labor racketeering charges, prosecutors decided to remove him from the Commission trial. Rastelli's trial began on October 14, 1986, and he was eventually convicted on 24 counts of labor racketeering. The judge handed down a hefty 12-year sentence for the aging mobster. Before the sentence was pronounced, Rastelli was confident he would never see the light of day again and would probably die in prison. He named his longtime friend Joseph Massino acting boss, granting him the power to approve new members and order contract murders. After serving just 5 years of his 12-year sentence, District Court Judge Charles P. Sifton, who had overseen Rastelli's trial, ordered him released on humanitarian grounds. Rastelli had undergone surgery and was believed to be dying of liver cancer. That prediction came true when Philip Rusty Rastelli died the following month on July 24, 1991, at Booth Memorial Hospital. He was laid to rest in a mausoleum at St. John's Cemetery, Queens County, New York, just beneath his second wife, Mildred.